another episode of Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am Sean Farrell. God is great all the time. All the time, God is great. Jesus Christ died and he rose again. Let's go ahead and get into it. Okay. So, Chris Jackson, later to be known as Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, okay, had a very successful college career at LSU. 1989 and 90, went into the 1990 NBA draft. As a matter of fact, I have his rookie card. Yeah. Yeah, so I have his rookie card, and so heading into the 1991 season, the Nuggets had just come off a 43 and 39 season. Okay. Coach Doug Moe was still there. Okay. But the team had made some trades and had some departures. I remember Danny Chase got traded to Milwaukee. Okay. They traded for Orlando Woolridge, Alex English, who had been their top gun scorer in the 1980s. He signed as a free agent with Dallas. Lafayette Fatley Heaver, he went into Dallas in a trade. And so, Doug Moe was going to be working with a pretty different roster heading into the 1991 season, okay? But I read this article on Mahmoud Abdul-Rauf, who was then known as Chris Jackson. The Denver Nuggets, not only were they going through some changes on the court, but they were going through some changes off the court as well. Management changes. So not only was the team a mess on the court, they were a mess on the court. A mess off the court, a mess on the court, okay? So, so I'm reading it right here. The team went into the 1990 draft with Doug Moe primarily as their head coach, okay? Shortly before the draft, Doug Moe had traded two 1990 first-round picks that the team had for the third pick in the draft that same year. The third overall pick was Chris Jackson of LSU. And here's the thing, though. When the Denver Nuggets drafted Chris Jackson, Doug Moe was still the head coach. Okay? Doug Moe was still the head coach in that June's NBA draft. Okay? Then shortly after the draft, the Nuggets decided to go in a different direction. Okay? Bernie Bickerstaff, according to this, shortly after the draft, Bickerstaff fired Moe, or Doug Moe fired himself, according to Dave Krieger, a foreshadowing of things to come in the mid-90s for Bickerstaff. He compounded the mistake by hiring Paul Westhead as coach, leading to the Nuggets becoming the laughingstock of the league. Yes, they were. Yes, they were. The Denver Nuggets were a laughingstock in the 1990-91 season, okay? Now, Paul Westhead came from Loyola Marymount, where they ran a fast-paced offense. He also had the Lakers in the early part of the 80s, led them to the 1980 NBA championship, okay? Had problems with Magic Johnson, heading into the 81-82 season, got fired. So he goes to Loyola Marymount. Bo Campbell, Hank Gathers. Okay. And the Nuggets were so bad in 1990-91 that they called them the Denver Nuggets. Okay. They called them the Denver Nuggets for a reason. Because the Denver Nuggets played no defense. Okay. The Denver Nuggets figuratively and literally played no defense whatsoever. Okay. That's why they were called the Denver Nuggets. Okay. I know, right? So, reading the article, Mo's swan song of drafting Jackson turned out great for this Nuggets team. But his first couple of years in Denver, you could not tell that he would become the deadly shooter that we saw from 92 to 1996, okay? His first 2 years in the NBA, he wasn't in shape, okay? He wasn't in shape. Out of shape, overweight, struggling to adapt to the NBA life and the social awkwardness that comes from Tourette's syndrome. It appears that under Paul Westhead, Jackson would never blossom. Okay. So then in 1993, for the 1993 season, the Denver Nuggets hired former Nuggets player as head coach, Dan Issel. Chris, I believe he went out, lost about 17 or 20 pounds, was the NBA's most improved player of the year in 1992-93. But the first 2 years, nah. So okay. All the time. There it is. Okay. Yeah, so his first few years he was out of shape and dealing with Tourette's syndrome. As a matter of fact, he played in 81 games. He played in 81 games that year in 1991-92. He played 81 games that year, but I remember the last game of the season. Paul Westhead was about to get fired. Okay, Paul Westhead got fired after the 91-92 season. And Paul Westhead didn't even play him the last game of the season, as if to say, and by some people, some people were saying, some people were saying that Paul Westhead was saying, "Hey, you're firing the wrong guy." Okay. I'm trying to find the exact quote. Trying to find the exact quote. Trying to find the exact quote. Yeah, so he was 17 when he first had Tourette's syndrome. It's a genetic disorder of the neurochemicals in the brain that fully affects approximately 200,000 people in the U.S. Okay. Um, um, okay. Here it goes. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So, um, I read the wrong article. Okay. This is the right one right here. So the first 2 years, no, um, again, he was out of shape. Friends and coaches had told him he needed to bulk up to play point guard in the pros. Okay, so he ate a lot and worked out a little. He left LSU at 169 pounds, but he came to Denver at a flabby 185. Oof. That's a lot of weight to gain in the offseason. Okay, that's a lot of weight to gain in the offseason because the NBA finals end in June. Okay, August, September, October. Training camp starts in October. Okay, and so 4 months is not a long time. Okay, in the NBA, that's not a long time. But man, um, so left LSU at 169, came to Denver at a flabby 185. Um, According to the Sports Illustrated article, it was a big mistake. He was so slow and fat that then Denver Nuggets coach Paul Westhead got out a tape of LSU's game with Westhead's old Loyola Marymount team. I swear, says Westhead, it didn't look like the same guy. Number two, his feet were killing him. Born with an extra bone near his ankle, Jackson frequently nursed sprains. Doctors told him he needed to have bones removed, but he chose to suffer until the end of the season. 3, nobody in the NBA was quite sure how to deal with a bundle of exposed ganglia he was. If I said that word right, ganglia he was. The NBA had never had a acknowledged Tourette suffer. In fact, there was only one other athlete in all of U.S. pro sports who had openly discussed his Tourette's. Jim Eisenreich, currently of the Philadelphia Phillies. This article in Sports Illustrated was written years ago. Um, um, there are a few reasons their numbers are few in pro sports. For instance, being around a person even moderately affected with Tourette's can wear you out. Jackson cries whoops all the time. The more excited he is, the more involuntary whoops. Often when out and about, he will whoop, a large whoop, and some woman would turn and look at him. And he would have to say politely, no, sister, I don't want you. The disorder can make him do things that are outrageously, if involuntarily, inappropriate. At LSU, the first week he knew his wife-to-be, Kim House, his elbow snapped involuntary, and he touched her breast. That was a mistake, he said. Teammates like Reggie Williams said, some nights I'd sit next to him and he'd hit me. He doesn't even know he's doing it, but he'd just keep hitting me. I had to ice my arm. Likeable as he is, conversations with Jackson can be monster calorie burners. When someone else starts a sentence, he will involuntarily blurt out, uh-huh. He will repeat what you say to distraction. Okay. So twice, NBA referees gave Jackson technical fouls for nothing more than his usual involuntary facial or verbal tics. He be in team meetings, says friend Alan Levette, president of the Greater Washington, D.C. chapter of Tourette Syndrome Association. And Coach Westhead would start to say something, and Chris would holler out a big uh-huh. I think Westhead took it as very sarcastic. Even some players thought he was putting Westhead down. I don't think many of us knew what it was. I think a lot of guys might have thought he was arrogant or just being mean, says Reggie Williams. Okay, and in the shape he was at the start of the 1990-91 season, Jackson couldn't have helped a four corners offense win, much less Westhead's hyperspace contraption. So Jackson got fewer minutes than the nightly weatherman. The coach and the player didn't talk much. It was personal, says Jackson. I will take it no other way. The second year was worse. Although the foot operation in 1991 and recovered well, he got fewer minutes and had fewer friends. Chris just kind of kept to himself. Marcus Liberty, says former teammate Marcus Liberty. He stayed in his room. Jackson blamed his reclusive existence on his playing difficulties. Dan Issel, then the Nuggets TV color man and now their head coach, once said, if Chris comes into the game and misses his first 2 or 3 shots, he wasn't going to play the rest of the night. And this is what I was talking about earlier. In fact, in the last game of the 1991-92 season, with Westhead about to get the pink slip, Westhead kept Jackson on the bench the entire game, as if to say, you're firing the wrong guy. Through it all, Jackson never wavered. I know my day will come, he told his mom. And in a quick flash, it did. Dan Issel was hired as head coach. He got a fresh start. 1992 was the first summer he really got to work on his conditioning. Lost 32 pounds. Working out alone in 3-hour sessions, shooting about 600 times a day. Nobody loves to repeat like Jackson. Westhead was in. Westhead was out. Issel was in. The slate's clean. Every starting job is open. And 19.2 points per game. Shooting 93.5% from the free throw line. Most improved player of the 1992-93 season. Okay. So yeah, Jackson's first 2 years under Paul Westhead were a disaster, but sometimes you need fresh faces. Dan Issel comes in, tells Chris Jackson, hey, the slate is clean, start all over. Chris went out, got himself in great shape, lost about 32 pounds, been terrific since the first day of training camp. Okay. And this is the same guy that dropped 50 on Michael and the Bulls during the Bulls 92-9, during the Bulls 72-10 season. Yeah. The same guy who dropped 50 on Michael, and he actually helped end the Bulls' winning streak as the Nuggets defeated the Bulls in Denver. Okay. So yeah, he was just that good. But in the first two years under Paul Westhead, he wasn't. All right, that's it, and that's all for Throwing It Back with Sean Farrell. I am out of here. May God bless you all.